Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All of our guests today, including Jeff Paterson standing by, are brought to you by the Alberni Power and Marine RPM Group, located in Port Alberni. Alberni Power and Marine is one of Vancouver Island's most trusted boat dealerships, the largest Mercury Marine dealership in Canada. Their service team just won for the fourth consecutive year a customer satisfaction index score above the national average. Make your appointment today for the 2023 boating season at albernipowermarine.com. Canucks open up their 52nd NHL season tonight up in Edmonton against the Oilers. Joining us now to talk about it, as always, on a Wednesday. It is Wednesday, right? I get things messed up because we're off on Monday. It is Wednesday.
Oh, it's Wednesday.
From Zakaris and Price and the Rink-Wide podcast, Jeff Paterson. Jeff, thanks for doing this. How are you, sir?
Donnie, Dolly, I am terrific. It's opening night. I'm excited. I'm always excited for the opener of any season, any sport, but particularly the Canucks, because that's the team that I grew up watching and now cover on a regular basis. So, opening night, fourth straight season. They're starting in Edmonton for some reason. And, of course, last season they opened in Edmonton. You may remember they closed in Edmonton. Games 1 and 82 were both in Edmonton, and they both ended in 3-2 shootout losses for the Vancouver Canucks.
Way to get people pumped up for the season there, Jeff. I appreciate that.
Well, hey, Donnie, I thought you missed an opportunity right off the top of the show. You should have done a cold open and wished everybody a great 2022-23 season. Did you see the referees in the two games last night?
We've got that clip. We're gonna run it later. Yes.
I hope I'm done. I'm out of here on your show by then, because that was the dumbest thing I've seen in a long, long time.
It was really unnecessary, and they had the wrong guy doing it. And I mean, hats off to him, because he's put in a tough position. We're going to show it a little bit later. But I don't know what they were thinking. It wasn't great showmanship. Let's just put it that way. Reasonable expectations, which is kind of going to be our poll question later on. Reasonable expectations for the Canucks, Jeff.
Yeah, it's playoff time. It's just so overdue in this market. You go back to 2015, the last time they actually played a home playoff date at Rogers Arena. I know they got into the playoffs in the expanded field in the bubble, and once they did, hey, they made some hay, and that's why I want to see playoff hockey, because Paterson and Hughes and Horvat and Miller, they were all terrific in the playoff bubble, and all those guys have been waiting a couple of years now. So it's time. It's time for the fans here to have an opportunity to see this team play playoff hockey. I'm not going to go beyond that. I just think that this team, the way it's constructed, there is enough there. Elite level goaltending in Thatcher Demko, like he's knocking on the door, being in that really small group of elite goaltenders. I believe that. I'm really curious about their handling of him and what did they learn from last year and overplaying Thatcher Demko, and certainly with an unproven backup. I think that's a storyline to follow. I like the additions up front. Kuzmenko, I think, showed everything you wanted to see in the preseason. We all talk about Elias Paterson in his second half last year, which, just going back and looking through some notes, he scored 14 goals in his final 15 games. Like, if that Elias Paterson can hit the ground running here, I think the team probably goes ultimately as far as he does. So I'm excited to see what he looks like, and I do want to see him play more playoff games, because when the stakes were high in the bubble, he was terrific. So I'm going to say making the playoffs. Beyond that, so much about postseason is matchups and the health of a hockey team, and who's playing well when they get to the playoffs as opposed to who sort of limps in. So I'm not going to make any grand proclamations beyond that, but I do think it's time to end the playoff drought here.
Jeff, a lot of talk about Kuzmenko since the first day he arrived. The Canucks beat out 25 other teams to land him. So he has the good preseason. He shows you all offensively, Jeff, what he can do. He's great in the offensive zone. But now the bullets fly. You're no more facing rookies in the preseason. What's your point total for him? Do you think he can land?
Yeah, I'm always a bit leery of putting numbers on a guy, just especially because we really haven't seen much of a body of work. But 6 points in the preseason and 4 games that he played. Look, for the first time I laid eyes on him up at Whistler, his shot is different. Like, these guys can all shoot the puck at this level, but his shot pops, and we saw that in the preseason. And I know it was against Arizona the other night. What a dreadful performance that was by the Coyotes. And I honestly, 15 wins this season maybe for them. That's an aside. I love the fact that Kuzmenko was put with Paterson. Mikheyev was on the other side, the one preseason game he played, and he'll get back there. But Paterson and Kuzmenko have forged some chemistry here. And the fact that he's going to start the season as the net front on power play 1, I think is a nice message to him that they liked what they saw. The power play had some success. Now, the first time it goes a little bit sour, it's an easy swap to get Brock Besser there, and Besser was terrific as the down low guy last year and had a career high in power play goals. So I know some people are suggesting that this is a slight on Brock Besser. A couple things to keep in mind. One is, and Besser himself said yesterday, he's had one preseason game the last 2 years. Gotten one last year and didn't get in any this year. And he's coming off hand surgery. Like, if you're the net front, you're taking a beating. You got to battle for position in front of the net. They're putting him in as the featured shooter on the second power play unit, and I think that's a good way to start for Brock Besser, who's going to have to find the speed of the game here without any preseason action. And so for Kuzmenko, I think it's a reward for a fine preseason. And look, I truly believe, guys, that the component parts are in place, whether it's Kuzmenko, whether it's Besser, but the other component parts for this power play to be among, if not the best in the National Hockey League this year. I feel that could be a path to the playoffs for this group, and they've been together for a few seasons now. They've had success, and I really do think that this is going to be one of the most dynamic and one of the most high-scoring power plays in the NHL.
Absolutely. You know what, Jeff? I think they could be top 5. 2 years ago, the Canucks had the highest paid fourth line in the National Hockey League. No question about it. It's been a while since they've really constructed a good fourth line. You got Joshua, Amon, and Lazar. What are your thoughts on that fourth line? It's a brand new one.
Yep, and I like everything about Curtis Lazar at the price point too. For $1 million. This guy, he knows his role here. I think he's one of those guys, and Ray Ferraro said it, that the coach won't have to talk to him at all. Like, he knows it's taken him a while to find out sort of his identity at the NHL level, and he's just one of those guys you plug and play and can trust. And penalty killing situations, high leverage situations, obviously a right shot center. He looks like he's going to start on the wing, but I think he'll take a lot of the face off on his strong side, and that'll insulate Nils Amon, who was one of the stories in training camp. And again, they like his size and sort of how refined his game is, even though he hasn't played in the NHL yet. He's earned this opportunity, at least for now. There's going to be decisions that have to be made here. When Mikheyev's ready, he comes in. Who comes out of the lineup? Is it going to be Höglander? Is it going to be Amon? Will it maybe be situational? Is Dakota Joshua an everyday player at this stage of his career? He doesn't have a huge body of work at the NHL level, but he had a decent preseason and scored in that finale as well and was physical at times. And so I think he's a useful piece for the Vancouver Canucks. And as you said, it has been just too much of a revolving door. And when you look at, Juho Lammikko couldn't find work in the NHL. I saw Matthew Highmore was sent down to the minors the other day. And so those are replaceable players. So with all due respect to them, and the Canucks have done that, they think they've upgraded. And I think Nils Amon is going to be a little bit of the bellwether there to see if they truly have upgraded, but he's earned this opportunity and has looked pretty good. And the coaches seem to love him. So good opportunity for him. But for all those things you just said about Kuzmenko, like, the lights get brighter tonight. And, now is the real test for a young player like Nils Amon.
Yeah.
Jeff, a 5-game season opening road trip. It includes a stretch of 3 games in 4 nights. A real tough test right off the bat for the Canucks. Good thing or bad thing?
They'll always tell you about gelling and bonding and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's one of the most cliched things in hockey. If they come off the road 1-4, clearly they didn't do enough bonding and gelling. But you know what, Don? Last year, they were 20-16-5 on the road, like a fully respectable road record. I make this point repeatedly that their biggest letdown was in front of the home fans last year, where they were barely better than they were on the road. That's one of the areas of massive improvement. It has to be. They've got to get into that 25-30 home ice win range, but you can't do that in these first 5 because, as you said, they're out on the road. So started with 6 straight on the road last year. They limped out of the gate a little bit, but salvaged it with wins in Chicago and Seattle. This isn't a murderer's row of a road trip when you look at it, but 3 games in 4 nights, Saturday in Philly, then they go into Washington and then to Columbus. I would imagine Spencer Martin probably gets his first start of the season in the back-to-backs in Columbus. So he's going to have to hold up his end of the bargain now that he is the backup here. It's a challenge, certainly, but boy, if they can come home above 500, I would qualify that as a success, and then they have to hit the ground running and start making hay at Rogers Arena once they start playing those home games.
Jeff, can't wait to talk about the Canucks with you over the next several months during the season and maybe the playoffs. Jeff, thanks so much for this. Appreciate it, as always.
One quick thing, Tony.
Yes.
If you show the first ever goal in Canucks history again, don't focus on the puck. Honestly, watch the Kings defender that slides right through the screen It's like one of the great defensive miscues of all time. You'll never watch that goal the same way again.
Well, you picked that out, and I didn't. You know what, Jeff? Because of the way they cut the cameras there, it's really tough to follow the puck anyway. But we'll look for that, and we're going to run that referee clip too. Jeff, thanks for this. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, thanks.
Okay, can we run that clip again now that Jeff has brought it up? Derek, I'm putting you to work here, Derek. There we go. So we're looking for the defender sliding across the ice here. Oh, what is that? Okay. Okay. Flipping and flopping. That wasn't great.
Like a fish out of water.
And by the way, some people are ripping into me for suggesting going back to those uniforms. What about the flying skate? You know what? At this point, I'd be okay either way. They need to refresh the uniforms they have right now.